Hello Internet, your friendly neighborhood gremlin here, and today we're going to do the Sleeping Beauty exterior, and I have to say that I'm pretty impressed with myself. Maybe that's a little bit overzealous, but I'm really happy. Obviously the castle bit was already done, so that's like not a feat in any stretch of the imagination, but I built up a forest that feels pretty foresty, given the sort of limitations that Animal Crossing brings, where we can't put trees very close to one another, because in the fairy tale, sort of either a forest of like brambles and bushes and trees, or just like a crap ton of thorns grow up around the castle, so nobody can get into it. So I thought that that was a good exterior plan, and I think we may build out our fruit orchard on the right side of the castle there, where's that big space is between us and the beach. We also end up with a large quantity of those giant vines to sort of be like thorny, I guess, and then I put in some suits of armor, as like protection or guards or something. Again, I think mostly the brambles and the thorns are supposed to do that, but I don't know. It seemed like an idea, and of course I used those sort of like regular people trees up on the castle, like on that little thing there where I've got the little edge. I did that like cliff hack thing, but I didn't film it, so hopefully that's okay. They're up there because I imagine that they might have been there when the castle was like a castle, and then the pine trees are all like the forest trees because our whole forest is going to be pine trees. That felt like the thing to do, and I added in a couple bunnies for wildlife. And then, of course, we have the skeleton, because I just can't help myself. Maybe it's one of those princes that failed to get into the castle and died, and so he's just, like, hanging out there or something. But I thought maybe I would tell y'all the story of Sleeping Beauty. I think we're just going to tell one version, because, again, this build ended up kind of short. We can point out some of the weird variations, but it'll mostly be one story. So our story begins with a king and queen who very desperately wanted a child, but were having trouble conceiving, and so either the queen just ends up pregnant and they're all like, thank God, this is exciting and wonderful and we are so happy, or a crab shows up while the queen's in the bath and it's just like, your wish will be granted, you shall have a daughter, normal stuff. So the baby is born and they are having a christening party, and they do not invite one of the fairies to sort of give her gifts. This happens either one of two ways. Either the fairy had not been out of her tower in like 50 years, so they thought that she was like dead or enchanted and couldn't leave and couldn't come, or they didn't have enough golden plates, so she just gets left out because there wasn't a plate for her. Kind of shitty, but all the fairies are giving her like gifts of kindness and beauty and virtue and all of that stuff, and just before the last fairy gives her sort of gift, the uninvited fairy bursts in and is all like, your child will prick her finger on a spindle and fall down dead. And the king and queen are obviously devastated, and the last fairy jumps in and saves the day and is all like, she won't die, she'll just fall asleep for like 100 years. So the king burns all the spindles and outlaws them, and then just goes about his life, hoping that this won't happen. But magic and curses and all that, and so she does find a spindle and she pricks her finger and she falls asleep. And here we have two options again. First one being everyone just falls asleep with her and then she'll wake up with true love's kiss, or they call the fairy in a panic and she is like, well, she's gonna be confused and lonely when she wakes up in 100 years and nobody's there. So we're just gonna put everybody to sleep except for the king and queen. Very specifically, not the king and queen. So the king and queen leave the castle and say no one can go in there, though a bunch of like brambles and trees and thorns grow up around the castle like immediately after they leave. So the decree is kind of useless. 100 years later, a prince is passing by and decides he's gonna try and wake the princess, because there's like legends of the girl sleeping in the tower, and he goes in and the thorns and bushes just open for him. Why, I don't know. And here we diverge again. Either the prince finds her and true love's kiss and happily ever after, which is the end of the Grimm's Brothers version, or my dude falls to his knees and she just kind of wakes up and they talk all night and fall in love and I guess get married. And his mom is like part ogre, and then she tries to eat the children and things happen. Anyway, we're out of time, so I guess we'll skip the best part of the story. Sorry about that one. If you're at all interested, I can tell you the end later, or I will have a link in the description to some versions of the story and you can read it yourself. But if you liked the video or just had a good time hanging out with me, you can hit that like button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the build, if you want to hear the end of the story, literally anything at all. And of course, if you think you might like to do this again sometime, you can hit that subscribe button. But I will see y'all on Thursday. Goodbye!